In Northern Ireland in 1974, 4 terrorists planned to bomb a restaurant. Their targets were 2 people who had just arrived by car. However, the terrorists' plan did not go smoothly because there were 3 children playing around the restaurant. They tried to tell the children to leave but were ignored. After a while, the terrorists decided to leave. As they left, bombs blew up the restaurant and the people inside. After the 4 of them managed to blow up the restaurant and escape, they immediately replaced the white car with a brown car that they had prepared earlier. They then drove to a small, isolated village far from the city. However, in the afternoon, the 4 of them who were speeding hit a barrier and broke it. But they didn't care about that. They just kept going. By morning, there was an old man named Finbar. He was a hitman disguised as a bookseller. Therefore, the residents were unaware of Finbar's true identity. In the area where Finbar lives, he has a close friend named Vincent. It is known that Vincent was a local policeman. Vincent and Finbar often make gunfire bets, but the bet was often won by Finbar. That morning after they met, Vincent was about to take Finbar home. But before then, Vincent took Finbar to see the state of the broken village barrier. This was actually caused by the terrorists speeding on the road last night. But Vincent, who knew the location, gave a hypothesis that the damage was caused by a drunk driver. After visiting the location, Vincent finally took Finbar home. It wasn't long before Finbar arrived near his home. Finbar lived in a village far from residential areas. Even so, Finbar has a very nice female neighbor named Rita. Finbar often got food from Rita because Rita had a vegetable field. As he was about to enter his house, Finbar noticed a flower on the windshield of his car. Without thinking, Finbar immediately checked his car because it turned out that the flower meant that there was a mission for Finbar, who was a former hitman. Finbar then found a photograph in the glove compartment of his car. There was a photo of a man circled in red ink, complete with the man's name, Bart McGuinness. After knowing that, Finbar went straight to the place where Bart McGuinness was. On the way, Finbar heard news about a bombing at a restaurant carried out by 3 terrorists from the IRA, Irish Republican Army militia. Long story short, Finbar arrived at a bar where Bart McGuinness was. Without taking long, Finbar managed to capture Bart McGuinness. Finbar then took him away to a solitary place. Uniquely, Finbar told Bart McGuinness to bring a tree for his tombstone. Finbar even asked him to dig a human-sized hole, which turned out to be for Bart McGuinness' grave. When they arrived at the riverbank, it was discovered that Finbar had pretty much buried his target there, based on the number of trees. Before Finbar executed Bart McGuinness, he got advice from him. Bart McGuinness said that he realized when he was young, he made a lot of mistakes. Luckily, he had time to repent. Then he told Finbar to do good things while there was still a chance. Shortly after that, Finbar shot Bart McGuinness until he died. Then he quickly buried him and planted a tree as a tombstone. After killing Bart McGuinness, Finbar met the person who gave him the mission, who was Robert. When Finbar arrived at Robert's house, he saw a man who was a new hitman. The hitman was named Kevin. While at Robert's house, Finbar kept thinking of Bart McGuinness' words. Therefore, Finbar decided to stop doing the assassination mission. Hearing that, Robert forbade Finbar to stop since he didn't have a reliable executor like Finbar, and Kevin was still unreliable. But Finbar's mind was made up, and he already had plans to enjoy his old age by gardening like his neighbor, Rita. After saying what he wanted, Finbar went home and cleaned up the yard. Then Finbar bought a lot of seeds to plant in his yard. Then he had a meal with Rita. At that time, Rita asked about Finbar's dead wife. Finbar said that his wife used to cook just like Rita. In addition, Finbar's wife was also kind, just like Rita. It was revealed that Finbar and Rita were both starting to fall in love. That afternoon, Finbar met a little girl named Moya. At that time, Moya was fishing in the river. A few moments later, Moya got a big enough fish that she was shocked and almost fell. Luckily, Finbar helped her even though the food Moya was carrying fell into the river. At the same time, Finbar accidentally noticed some bruises on Moya's neck that were visible when Finbar helped her. Finbar tried to find out where Moya got the wound, but Moya left first like a child who was afraid that her wounds were known. Later that evening, Finbar went to the bar owned by Moya's mother named Sinead. In order for Sinead not to be suspicious of him, Finbar tried to apologize for accidentally dropping Moya's food. Therefore, Finbar asked Sinead not to scold Moya. After Finbar saw the wound on Moya's neck, Finbar suspected that Sinead often scolded or hit Moya. That's why Finbar lied, so that Sinead wouldn't easily scold Moya. Then Finbar saw Moya standing frightened near the horse. Finbar intended to take Moya home. When Finbar arrived at Moya's place in a caravan, a man came out of there. The man claimed that he was Moya's uncle. He then told Finbar to leave quickly, as if he had something to hide. It turned out that the man who claimed to be the little girl's uncle was one of the bombers at the restaurant and was named Curtis. Finbar was confused by the man because Moya denied that Curtis was his uncle. Shortly after Finbar left, he heard that Curtis scolded Moya in a high tone because it was found that the food Moya dropped was food for Curtis. Curtis then met his 3 friends Seamus, Conan, and Dorian. He brought the rest of the food from Moya for them. But Dorian was angry because the food was not enough for the 3 of them. The next day, Finbar brought food to Sinead's house as an apology because yesterday Finbar accidentally dropped Moya's food. But underneath the apology, Finbar tried to find out if Moya was a victim of torture. Finbar then went to Moya. Then Moya gave him a bullet that she got. Finbar asked if she got the bullet from Curtis, Moya's uncle, but Moya only replied that Curtis was not her uncle. Finbar asked Moya once again if she got hit at the house over there. Without answering with words, the look on Moya's face hinted that she had gotten hit at the house. Then Finbar saw Curtis come in, who didn't like having Finbar in Moya's house. Sinead immediately gave a box of food to Curtis and told him to leave immediately. Knowing that Curtis was torturing Moya, Finbar was annoyed with him. Finbar then went to Robert's house and asked Kevin to kill Curtis. Finbar argued that Curtis had tortured Moya and therefore he deserved to die. Sadly, Robert, who knew Finbar's reasoning, was afraid that Curtis was a member of the IRA. Robert told Finbar to leave the Moya case to the police. Hearing that, Finbar disagreed with Robert because Finbar was sure that the police would not be able to find evidence. Meanwhile, Moya also refused to say anything to the police because she was afraid. Then Finbar decided to return from retirement as a hitman to finish off Curtis. Finbar secretly followed Curtis, who was swimming. Then Finbar pretended to offer Curtis a ride home. Curtis easily accepted Finbar's offer. On the way to the intersection, Finbar told Curtis to take a lighter for Curtis to light the cigarette from Finbar. At first, Curtis suspected that Finbar had passed the wrong way to get to Moya's house. However, Finbar managed to convince Curtis that they were going the right way. On the way, Finbar stopped and invited Curtis to try the weapons he was carrying. Then suddenly Finbar hit Curtis when he was caught off guard. He then took Curtis to the riverbank, where Finbar usually buried his targets. Once there, Finbar, who didn't know that Curtis was carrying a small knife, ended up getting injured when Curtis attacked him. For a while, Curtis was able to escape from Finbar. Fortunately, Finbar shot Curtis in the leg until he couldn't walk anymore. When Finbar was about to shoot Curtis in the head, Curtis secretly attacked Finbar and almost injured him. At the same time, someone shot Curtis to death. It turned out that the person was Kevin, who was ready to help Finbar. After that, Kevin and Finbar took Curtis' body to be buried by the river like Finbar's other targets. The next day, Dorian looked worried because her brother, Curtis, hadn't come home since yesterday. At that time, Conan decided to leave the village because he thought that Curtis was probably caught by the police or killed. Therefore, Conan felt that the village was not safe for them to hide in. However, Dorian was unwilling to leave before finding Curtis. Dorian then took her gun to look for Curtis. It was then that Dorian realized that one bullet was missing. Knowing that, Dorian immediately went to Sinead to ask about Curtis' whereabouts. Sinead then said that after getting food yesterday, Curtis wanted to swim, and after that Sinead didn't know where he went. Sinead thought that Curtis had been arrested by the police. From the conversation, it became clear that Sinead was a former member of the IRA like Dorian and 3 others. Therefore, Dorian asked for Sinead's help to hide. Dorian, who heard what Sinead said about Curtis, was upset and thought Sinead disrespected their struggle for Irish independence. Dorian then choked Sinead, and fortunately, she didn't kill Sinead. A while later, Dorian called her friend and asked about Curtis' whereabouts. Sadly, Dorian's friend had no idea of Curtis' whereabouts, but told Dorian to go to the village's chief hitman, who was none other than Robert. He said this so that Dorian could find out Curtis' whereabouts. After getting Robert's address, Dorian immediately went to see Robert. When she got to the house, Dorian unhesitatingly said that she was looking for Curtis. Robert claimed that he didn't know where Curtis was. Shortly afterward, Dorian accidentally stepped on a bullet that Finbar had brought from Moya. Dorian then tried to put the bullet in her gun, and it matched. Dorian then pointed the gun at Robert. Robert thought that Dorian must know that Robert knew where Curtis was. Therefore, Robert had to be honest and say that Curtis was dead. However, Robert admitted that he was not behind Curtis' death because he was not the contractor who bribed the hitman. Robert was forced to say that Finbar was the one who knew the killer of Curtis. Robert secretly wanted to shoot Dorian because he thought she was off guard. Unfortunately, Dorian was not caught off guard and shot Robert first. At that moment, Robert's wife, who heard the gunshot, rushed to Robert's room. But Dorian told her to leave so she wouldn't see Dorian's face. By doing so, Dorian didn't need to kill Robert's wife named Josie. After Dorian left, Finbar and Kevin went to Josie. Robert's wife said that Robert had just been killed. Hearing that, Finbar asked if Josie saw the culprit. But Josie firmly said that she didn't see the face of Robert's killer. Josie said that all she knew was that the killer was a woman who was looking for a man named Curtis. Later, Finbar and Kevin burned all the documents about the murder contract. He then told Josie to call the police after Finbar and Kevin left. On the other hand, Dorian, Conan, and Seamus searched for Finbar's whereabouts by visiting a plant seed seller. Seamus asked for Finbar's address on the grounds that he was Finbar's nephew. Without hesitation, the plant seed seller gave Finbar's address to Seamus. After getting Finbar's address, Seamus and his two friends rushed to Finbar's house. At the same time, Vincent came to the plant seed seller, who said that Seamus was Finbar's nephew, who was looking for his address. Soon Dorian, Seamus, and Conan arrived at Finbar's house. Meanwhile, Finbar and Kevin arrived at Finbar's house. However, they chose to come into the house through the back way, because Finbar knew that the culprit of Robert's murder had arrived at Finbar's house. Finbar and Kevin chose to spy on Dorian and her friends from outside Finbar's house. Until morning, Dorian was upset because Finbar didn't come. Therefore, Dorian broke the windshield of Finbar's car to provoke him to come out. However, Rita, who heard the commotion, came out of the house. She saw Dorian, who was upset. Then Rita approached Dorian and asked the purpose of Dorian and her friends looking for Finbar. Kevin, who was afraid that Dorian would kill Rita, intended to shoot her. But Finbar quickly prevented Kevin because if a shot was fired, it would put Rita's life in danger. Seeing Rita, who was still curious about why they were looking for Finbar, Dorian immediately hit Rita until she fainted. Seeing that, Finbar was very annoyed, but he couldn't do anything to keep Rita at a distance. A few moments later, Dorian, Conan, and Seamus decided to leave. Meanwhile, Kevin and Finbar approached Rita, who fainted. They both carried Rita's body into the house. Finbar then called the doctor to come and check on Rita. After that, Finbar and Kevin chose to go to Kevin's house to hide for a while. When they arrived at Kevin's house, Finbar saw a burning piece of newspaper. As Finbar was curious, he finally bought the same newspaper to find out the news about the bombing at the restaurant in the beginning of the movie. After buying a new newspaper, Finbar found out that Curtis, Dorian, and Seamus were the three suspected bombers at the restaurant. Currently, the three of them were wanted by the police. Finbar instantly remembered the house located near Moya's house. Finbar soon went to the house. Once there, Finbar found no one in the house. He only found some bomb-making tools and some grenades. Finbar then went to the soccer field, where there was a match going on. Moments after Finbar searched for Dorian's whereabouts, Finbar finally saw Dorian from afar. Finbar then followed her to the restroom. He waited for Dorian outside. However, Dorian realized that Finbar was following her. Finally, she turned around and came to Finbar. At first, Dorian was about to shoot Finbar because Finbar was acting suspiciously. Then Finbar invited her to make peace because they had both killed their friends. Dorian disagreed because Curtis was not a friend but her brother. Then Dorian asked about the killer of Curtis. Finbar offered to bring the killer to the soccer field at 8 p.m. However, Dorian asked him to meet at the bar so that Finbar would not mess up because the villagers didn't know that Finbar was a hitman. After that, Finbar went to Kevin and said that he would kill Dorian in public. Finbar had no other choice because Dorian wouldn't reconcile. Afterwards, Finbar told Kevin to leave first and not to get involved in this case. Actually, Kevin refused because he wanted to help Finbar. After Finbar succeeded, then Kevin went to California. Kevin then said that in California, Kevin and Finbar wouldn't have to be saints. This is because in Ireland, they pretend to be good people like the residents, even though they were both hitmen who committed sins as well. Long story short, Finbar arrived in front of the bar. He gave money and told Kevin to leave for America as soon as he wanted. After that, Finbar immediately entered the bar waiting for Dorian's arrival. When night fell, Dorian invited Conan into the bar to bring a bomb. Dorian apparently intended to blow up the bar, while Seamus was instructed to stand guard in the car only. At the same time, Finbar talked to Vincent. Based on their conversation, Vincent realized that Finbar was not a bookseller as Finbar had said at the beginning. Even so, Vincent knew that Finbar was facing problems. Vincent asked Finbar to share his problem. But Finbar decided not to say anything because he didn't want Vincent to get involved. Soon Dorian entered the bar. Meanwhile, Vincent went to smoke outside the bar. Then Vincent realized that Dorian's car was the car that hit the village barrier because there were scratches on the car. In addition, Dorian's car had a paint color that was exactly the color of the village barrier. Vincent finally noticed that Dorian was the person Finbar was going to face. Therefore, Vincent entered the bar once again. As Vincent arrived at the bar, she became more suspicious as she saw Conan watching Finbar and Dorian with his hands in his pockets. Vincent then sat next to Conan to watch him. Meanwhile, Finbar invited Dorian to go to the backyard so that no one would get hurt. But surprisingly, Kevin came and disrupted Finbar's plan. Kevin pointed his gun at Dorian. Seeing Kevin coming, Dorian asked if he was the killer of Curtis. In a mocking tone, Kevin said that he was the one who had killed Curtis. Kevin then invited her to the backyard. But suddenly, Dorian shot Kevin in the stomach. At that moment, there was a firefight between Finbar, Kevin, and Vincent against Dorian and Conan. On the other hand, Vincent took the bag that Conan was carrying to the bar. Vincent was surprised to see that the bag contained bombs. Sadly, Seamus managed to throw the bag into the bar. Inside the bar, the wounded Kevin shot Dorian. Meanwhile, Finbar had a shootout with Conan. Not long after, Finbar, who saw Seamus throwing the bag containing the bomb, then shot him, until the bomb blew up the bar. Fortunately, Finbar was saved. Before Kevin died, he told Finbar that his money was in his car. At the same time, Dorian managed to escape because Finbar had to fight with Conan. Fortunately, Conan was defeated by Finbar easily. Then Finbar chased Dorian, who ran away from the bar. As he was about to leave, Finbar saw Vincent, who looked at him as if he was asking who Finbar really was, but Finbar didn't say a word again. He immediately went to look for Dorian. Finbar finally found Dorian, who tried to hide in the church. Before Finbar could kill her, Dorian died of blood loss due to a shootout at the bar. After that, Finbar buried Kevin's body where Finbar buried his targets. The next day, Finbar planned to leave the village because the police did not arrest him. Before leaving, Finbar went to Rita and apologized for bringing Rita into a dangerous situation. Elsewhere, Vincent just finished installing the village barrier. When he was about to leave, Vincent found a package containing a book. It was the book that Finbar used to tell him about. Then Finbar continued on his way and completely retired from the hitman.